Ayo, what's poppin' everybody? Welcome back to another Ever Crisis video. Hope you guys are doing well. Today's video is all about CAIT SITH, or Kechi, however you want to pronounce it. And we are going to be spending the majority of the video looking at him, all of his new weapons, what he has to offer as a character, and it's pretty exciting stuff, so stay tuned for that. But of course, with him coming out and his banner coming out, Tifa has also gotten the new outfit and weapon from the Easter event as well. So we are going to take a quick look at that. And yeah, after that we are going straight into Kechi and going over all of his weapons. So hopefully that is of use to you. With Tifa's outfit, so she gets the Bunny Bustier, which gives her magic ability potency boost, and Water Blade Arcanum, which is 35% water ability damage, of course. And yeah, I'm not much of a waifu guy, but I mean, damn, it's a bunny outfit for Tifa. You gotta love it. I kind of want this outfit more as a skin than anything else, but as an outfit itself, the stats, the abilities, the R abilities, they're pretty good. Obviously, if you already have a water setup, it's less valuable, but overall pretty nice. And it's magic-based water, which we don't have yet, so it has that going for it. As for her bunny gloves, obviously complements the outfit. It has a very high magic attack stat, I mean super high, and it has boost M attack and boost water potency. It also has a single target water ability damage, 850%, and then it also increases her magic attack by low to high potency. So the low is a bit meh, but I mean, each use she's going to get a little bit stronger in terms of magic attack. So low, mid, high, 3 casts and you're maxed out. Finally, it does have an X sigil boost, which, you know, as you know, is always a welcome thing to have. I'd much rather have an X sigil boost than just another attack or magic attack boost. So overall, it is a pretty solid weapon and good to get if you don't have a water setup yet, or if you just want to diversify and grab yourself a magic-based water setup. Quick comparisons as always. I want to compare her new magic attack elemental weapon to Aerith's latest magic attack elemental weapon. And you can see she wins out in stats, even though Aerith's is also pretty high. Aerith's wins out in R abilities because her R2 has a lot more points. And then when it comes to command abilities, Aerith does have the AoE capabilities, but when hitting a single target, it's 819%, whereas Tifa's is just straight 850%, so it's a bit stronger when hitting a single target, and obviously Tifa's can only hit a single target. And yeah, it gives her that little magic attack buff, which is pretty nice. And she has the sigil boost, which Aerith's weapon doesn't. I'm still not big on the all cure spells, so I prefer the sigil boost. Yeah, I'm just not sold on that. Let me know if you have found good value for it yet, or if you prefer the cure spells versus the sigil. Now let's compare her weapon to another very good weapon, so to speak, one of the best ones out there, one of the anniversary weapons, Glenn's Stream Slasher. So you can see in their primary stats, they both have 674, which is like pretty much the highest you can get for magic and physical right now. And Glenn wins out on the R abilities because he has the All Allies boost for physical attack, and his water potency is higher, so just trumps Tifa's weapon there. And his command ability is 50% stronger as well, but doesn't have the buff, so Tifa's got that going for her, and they both have sigil boost. So overall, I would say this is sort of a little tier below Glenn's Stream Slasher or most of the anniversary weapons, but it is still a very good weapon. Especially with that magic attack stat, 674, that's very, very strong. It is missing out on a bit of water potency, so in the end of the day, if you want to know if you should pull on this, it definitely has a top tier magic attack stat. It is the first magic and water combination, so all of the water weapons so far have been physical. This is a magic based water weapon, so if you want that versatility, that'll be a good pull for you. It has the powerful single target ability, water damage, and buffs herself for magic attack. And then of course it's good as a main hand and a sub weapon because it's magic attack and water potency. So overall, I would say it is not like the top tier of weapons, but it is definitely up there in the higher echelons. So yeah, if you need a water build, or if you really want magic based water damage, then this is a decent pool for you. Personally, I'm going to be skipping on this. Well, not technically. I will be pulling on the banner for CAIT SITH, but not for Tifa. So, now to get to the star of the show, it is CAIT SITH himself, or CAIT SITH. My initial impressions of him are that his support materia are pretty underwhelming, leaves a lot to be desired, honestly. I think he has like one weapon that has a sigil boost, and nothing else special really. No elemental boosts, just normal magic attack, physical attack, and attack boosts for the most part. But other than that, I have been mentioning in some of my previous videos that crit needs a bit of love, and honestly I didn't expect that to come in the form of a character, but it has. I expected them to give crit some love with some weapons, but CAIT SITH is actually, he works with crit quite a lot, and he is like a crit based character, and I love it. He is the most thematic character in the game, in my opinion, because he sort of rolls the dice, as it were. He has RNG in his kit. He works with crit, which is pretty much RNG in itself. So he's a very luck-based character, and he's got some absolutely bonkers weapons. And he's got a mix of epic weapons and not so good weapons, and pretty good average weapons. So overall, my impressions are that he is a very cool character. He brings something new, something different in the crit-based stuff, which we'll touch on when we get onto his weapons. So his basic outfit is Marching Jacket, which gives him HP and physical defense 8 points each. That is just the standard one you can get in the exchange. As for his featured outfit though, he has the Party Jacket in his drawer, and that is friggin' awesome. It has buff debuff extension, which, as you know if you've watched my videos for a while, I love. And it has critical potency Arcanum, which is obviously completely brand new, and it looks pretty crazy. It is 50% extra crit damage. So when he does land a crit, it is going to be doing 50% more damage, and that is just super cool. Something we've never seen before, and just the beginning of his crit shenanigans. Now, jumping into his limit breaks real quick, he has Dice, which is a physical magical damaging ability, and it increases STR per dice roll up to ×6. I'm assuming that's strength. I'm not exactly sure how that works, but that sounds very interesting. His other one is also a damaging ability that lowers the enemy's physical defense and magical defense by mid potency. It is for a single target only, but that is not bad at all. Then finally he has Moogle Dance, which is a tiny heal. It is only 13% of heal potency, so don't be deceived by the magic heal is cast. The main thing is that it increases all of your allies' physical and magical attack by mid potency. So AoE, physical and magical attack buffs. Pretty cool overall. I like this dice thing quite a lot. The strength increase is interesting. So onto his weapons. We have Flower Vase, which is his featured weapon. And you'll notice a lot of his weapons are not really maxed out in one stat. They don't have the highest physical or magical. They kind of have a mix between the two. And this one is just like that. It has good heal as well. It has a dedicated R for M attack, so 62 points, and magic ability potency 39, which is fantastic. The ability itself is a high potency debuff for magic attack, and haste, which is a brand new mechanic, and that makes your character who's hasted, their ATB will recharge a lot quicker. So quick comparison, I tried to compare all of these weapons to weapons that are as similar to them as possible. It is not always the best, but I did as well as I could. So Flower Vase is being compared to Yuffie's Crystal Cross. Take a quick look, you can see that the stats are pretty similar actually in terms of magic attack, but CAIT SITH actually has a lot more physical and more heal. He's very well rounded with his stats. His R abilities, both of them are higher than Yuffie's weapon, so much better. And then the command abilities are pretty much the same thing, except that CAIT SITH also gives haste. Neither of the support materials are really interesting at all, so that is pretty much it. And you can see that this weapon, the Flower Vase, is so much better than any weapon that is similar to it. Now we move on to this absolutely bonkers weapon, the yellow megaphone. It has a very high physical attack stat and an actual pretty good magic attack as well, excuse me. It has boost attack 46 and ability potency 39, so very much hybrid, but it's the ability that is super interesting. 700% physical non-elemental damage to a single target with a 30% crit rate, so yeah. And when hitting a critical, it does ×3 damage, which is bonkers. If I'm not wrong, correct me if I am, that's like around 2k, 2100% damage, which is madness. We've never seen that before. So let's compare it to another damage multiplying weapon. And we can see here the primary stats are pretty much the same. Of course, the boost magic attack for all allies will win out over just boost attack. But the R2 of CAIT SITH's weapon is a lot higher than Zack's R2. Same thing with the ability. You'll notice CAIT SITH, a bunch of his weapons actually have more than 10% crit rate. Up until now, everyone has only had 10%, but he has 30% on this weapon. And when he does crit, it's 2100% to a single target, which is mind-boggling, honestly. Makes ceremonial sword look bad, and that's like 1300 or something like that. So yeah, absolutely crazy weapon. Please correct me if I'm wrong about this, but I mean, that's what it looks like. 700% ×3. And Zack's weapon has the sigil boost, so overall I would say the yellow megaphone is just better, honestly. Next up is the green megaphone, and also a very good weapon, very high magic attack stats, pretty much standard magic attack water potency, looks good, and it has 620% magic water damage with a water resist decrease of high potency. So that's really nice. I've mentioned before, most of the elemental resist weapons are actually non-elemental in their abilities, but this one actually does water damage and lowers water resistance. Very, very nice. And this is pretty much his only weapon with the sigil boost, so it's got that going for it as well. Let's compare it to one of the other weapons that have recently come out that is pretty much similar in the command ability. It's an elemental damage weapon that lowers some kind of stat. So very similar magic attack stats, same amount of points in the R abilities, pretty on par, and they both do 620% magic elemental damage. One lowers the enemy's water resistance by high potency, and the other lowers their magic defense by high potency. And they both have sigils, so these two weapons are actually super comparable. They are almost exactly the same in terms of comparability, at least. One's water, one's fire, one's got different R abilities, but yeah, very, very good weapon. And now we are starting to tone it down a bit because the first few weapons have been really, really good. This one is a magic attack based ice weapon with boost HP as its R1. It is an AoE ice weapon, and yeah, support materia is nothing to write home about. So compared to the previous weapons, this is definitely a step down, but that doesn't mean that this weapon is bad by any means. So in terms of comparisons, I have compared Blue Megaphone to Matt's Absolute Royal, because both of them are magic damage, AoE, ice, command ability weapons. And you can decide which one you think is more useful. Overall, the Blue Megaphone has a bit more magic attack stat, and the Absolute Royal has a sigil break and 20% more damage on the actual ability. Other than that, they are pretty similar, except for the R abilities, where Blue Megaphone has HP and Absolute Royal has magic attack. And I have already mentioned I prefer boost HP, because not only is magic attack a lot easier to max out, HP is also more versatile. For example, you could use the Megaphone in a physical ice build and not lose anything. Whereas if you use the Absolute Royal in a physical ice build, the boost magic attack is going to be kind of useless. Red Megaphone, not much to talk about here. It is basically the Blue Megaphone, but for fire damage. So HP, fire potency, 520% fire AoE, and very uninteresting support material. And so I decided that if you want to measure this weapon up against weapons that are already in the game, the best bet would be Sephiroth's prototype Crimson Blade. The red megaphone versus Crimson Blade. Stats very similar across the board. Our ability points are the same, except the one has HP, the other has attack. Their command abilities and support material are actually identical, like legit identical. Firaga A++, Firaga A++. That's pretty much all I have to say about that. Crystal Megaphone is up next, and it has stats spread out very evenly across all of the stats, and they are pretty good as well. Physical, magical, and heal are all quite high. Maybe not top of the charts for any of them, but having all of them pretty high is quite nice. And the R ability complements that because it has boost attack, making it very easily a hybrid weapon that can go into boost attack, boost ability potency, and do a bit of both, magic and physical. Command ability is a high potency physical defense buff, and the best weapon I could find to compare that to is Cloud's Butterfly Edge. Please don't mind whatever is happening on the slides there. Let's just pretend we didn't see that. For Butterfly Edge, it is much more a physical weapon, 561 physical attack, and the others are quite low, whereas Crystal Megaphone is very spread out into physical, magical, and heal, so take with that what you will. Our ability points are actually quite similar in the points, it's just that Butterfly Edge is front-loaded into the R1, the boost HP, whereas the R2 has a lot less points, and the Megaphone is more spread out, 4639. Again, they have the same command ability, physical defense buff of high potency to a single ally, but Crystal Megaphone has a little bit of regen, doesn't really matter. Silver Megaphone is also quite half and half with physical and magical, both decent, not the highest magic attack or physical attack you'll ever see, but good for both of them, so that's what makes up for it. And then it has HP and ability potency, making it a very open-ended weapon. You could use it in any build pretty much, and it would work. As for the ability, it has a 20% crit rate and it lowers the enemy's physical defense by low potency, but if you actually land a crit, it will lower their physical defense by high potency. So that's super interesting, and that's where some of the luck, RNG, rolling of the dice, whatever you want to call it, comes in. And the closest weapon I could find to compare it to is Zack's Cutlass. Their stats are pretty similar. Their R ability points are actually quite similar, the totals, even though Zack has more ability potency and he also has physical defense, whereas the Megaphone has more HP. But the command ability is what's interesting. As I said, Crystal Megaphone, 20% crit rate, but you have to crit to get that high potency physical defense debuff, whereas with the Cutlass, you don't have to crit, it's just automatic high potency debuff at max. So you could argue the Cutlass is actually just better. Next up is Gold Megaphone. Same thing going on with the stats as most of the other weapons, but this one is a physical attack fire weapon. And the most interesting thing about this weapon is the command ability. It is 510% non-elemental damage with a 20% crit rate, and it lowers the enemy's fire resistance by high, and it also lowers their magic attack by high if you crit. So again, really working into his thematic as sort of a bit of a gambler, rolling the dice, etc, etc. And the first weapon that instantly came to mind was Radiant Edge as a comparison, because they both do pretty similar stuff in the command abilities. And that's all I'm going to focus on here, because there's quite a lot packed into these command abilities. So 20% crit versus 10% crit. Sephiroth does a little more damage, 30% more. And Ketchi's, the fire resistance is automatic, whereas Sephiroth, the physical defense down is automatic. And then their conditional debuffs are for Ketchi, that's a magic attack decrease of high potency, if you crit, and for Sephiroth, it's a fire resist decrease of high potency if you have above 50% HP. Overall, I would say Sephiroth's weapon is much better. Depending on what you need though. If you need to lower magic attack, Gold Megaphone's good. Battle Trumpet is the second to last weapon, and yeah, stats are good. Physical attack and ability potency. Again, the command ability is what matters, so I'm going to go over that. 30% crit rate, it is AoE, and it debuffs magic attack, AoE by mid potency, and if you crit, once again, it's physical attack, AoE by high potency. So that is actually very, very, very nice. And yeah, bringing in some of that, you know, gambling, that luck, that RNG. If you enjoy that kind of thing, then you will probably like Ketchi quite a lot. And because this weapon's so unique, I compare it with Twinkling Star, and yeah, I'm going to only look at the command abilities again because there's just too much to unpack. So Ketchi's is AoE, Zack's is single target. Ketchi debuffs magic attack automatically by mid potency, whereas Zack debuffs magic attack automatically by high potency. Then Ketchi, if he crits, he gets the high potency physical attack debuff to all enemies, whereas Zack, I think, yeah, it's just automatic high potency physical defense to a single target. Whew, it's been a long one. A long day, a long video. So please bear with me. The final weapon for Ketchi is Marching Horn. This is quite a bit more leaning into physical attack, at least in terms of the stats. But the R abilities has a dedicated R1 for boost heal, so 62 points, and then buff debuff extension, which is really nice. And the command ability is a physical attack buff of high potency to a single ally. Pretty straightforward, pretty simple weapon. We've seen the likes of these before, except for the fact that it has the boost heal of 62 points. And for me, it was an easy comparison between Marching Horn and Matt's Bramble Spine. They are very similar weapons, they do the same buff. And so we can take a look. So Bramble Spine leans much more into magic attack, whereas Marching Horn does more physical. And our ability points, you can see the totals are actually very similar. Marching Horn has 88, Bramble Spine has 85. And they both have heal, whereas one has magic defense, the other has buff debuff. And then their command abilities are literally exactly the same once again, so no need to really go into that. And this just shows you how some of his weapons match up with some weapons that are already in the game. So overall, Ketchi, in my opinion, is the most thematic character in the game. He's got the roll the dice, RNG, luck-based stuff in his kit. And what's interesting is he can play as a physical DPS, a magical DPS, or support right out of the box with the way his weapons are set up. Whereas someone like Cloud, for instance, was definitely more leaning towards being a physical attacker, with only his Mithril Saber really being magic. Next up though, lots of his weapons cater to attack, so boost attack, boost ability potency, so very hybrid build. Stats are very spread out over both physical and magical, so he'd be very good for any kind of hybrid build that you would like to do. The support material though leaves a lot to be desired. They're all just like standard boost attack, boost magic attack, boost physical attack, whatever. There's like one sigil boost and nothing else of interest. Other than that, he leans heavily into crit, so he's a very crit reliant character, and yeah, his weapons do more when you actually crit with them, and they also have a little bit of a higher chance to crit compared to other weapons in the game. And then of course with his outfit, the crit potency, that's crit damage plus 50%, so he is very much the crit character right now. And yeah, he's got some crazy good weapons, like the yellow megaphone that can do ridiculous damage if you crit, and he's also got some mid-tier weapons and some less than ideal weapons, I guess you could say. For example, Zack's cutlass is much better, in my opinion, than his crystal megaphone, even though they are similar weapons. And yeah, that's been a mouthful. It's been a long one, but I hope this was helpful. And yeah, have a good one. See ya.